Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase pricing and availability questions concerning this watch. Today we are discussing a 2016 launch from Bethune in grade 5 titanium, fired blue. This is the DB28 kind of blue tourbillon. So of course there's the 28 kind of blue, but for those who want to go all the way, there is the tourbillon regulator. I'm going to wind it up. You're going to see it in motion. Just wanted you to see the detail of the carriage before I fire it up. Let's start with size. 42.6 millimeters in diameter. It's 11.8 millimeters thick. And from lug tip to lug tip, you got to realize these are patented floating lugs, so they're variable geometry. At full extension, they're 58.1 across the wrist. At full compression, 53.3, with a 26 millimeter spacing in between the lugs. Now we'll throw this watch on my wrist, which is 16 centimeters in circumference, and you get a good sense of how it fits. Very comfortable, very flat. And that in spite of having 2 barrels, 5 days of power reserve, a tourbillon, and a power reserve indicator. But you can see that the lugs are fairly broad. Now, of course, lugs can be swapped out at Bethune. You can get the short, the long, or the intermediates. This is not precisely fixed. It is something that can be tailored in the future. And the watch is incredibly light, all in sapphire and titanium. Let's zoom out and give you a better sense of the watch to scale. My arm is actually not small. I'm just skinny. You can see how it'll easily fit underneath a cuff. The strap is high grade. You can see it's a combination of black textile, folded edge, little gusset sewn in to avoid gouging, calfskin on the bottom, and then we've got a buckle that matches the case. Bethune buckles match the watches, usually the form of the lug, but in this instance, you can see not only does it echo the design of the lug, but it also echoes the two-tone design of the watch with rose gold and fired blue titanium. Taking a look, you can see that the Bethune's signature design, no, not the lugs, the tip of the lug, this little ogival or torpedo tip, the rocket cap, some call it. But you can see this little cabochon at the end is a vestige of the original DB1 chronograph, the company's first product from its inaugural year in 2002. This is on most Bethune watches. And you can see right here it continues as a nod to the past, though this is a much more avant-garde statement than the very classically inspired DB1. You can see that the case is effectively a monoblock. The bezel and the mid-case all one piece, so there's no seam between case and bezel. Everything loads through the case back. We have a crown that's a screw-down crown, but it's still 30 meters water resistant. You don't want to swim with it. The screw-down element is mostly to prevent the crown from being displaced by the motion of the lug. And because Denis Flageolet, the founder and watchmaking lead at Bethune to this day, is a classicist, he includes a couple of little classical elements that could easily be overlooked, but the most notable here is the unbranded crown. You might not expect classicism on a watch like this. Like I said, it's easy to overlook the elements that are an homage to the past, but this little pocket watch, clock-style bullhead winder with the unsigned crown, that is an homage. Taking a look at the dial, what's impressive is you really can't feel the seam between the crystal and the case, and I mean, it's absolutely seamless. You can't even feel the step from one to the other. The assembly tolerances are incredible. A lot of people ask me about these blued cases, and people get too used to things like PVD, where you get a scratch and you have to replace the case. This is not like that. This isn't physical vapor deposition. This is oxide. So this is actually a fired blue case. They do this in a kiln. And so the oxide layer can be restored by firing it again. So if it does get scratched down to the bare titanium, it can absolutely be recoated. What I actually find is that a lot of these burnish, they don't really scratch through. I haven't seen too many cases of that. But I have seen quite a few instances where the oxide layer starts to wear thin a little bit, and you get these wonderful rainbows of unusual color that I find really compelling and actually in some ways worth keeping in their own right. So yes, you can restore the blue hue, but you can also leave it and let it age, and I think it looks cool that way. We have a polished titanium and fired blue cap over the barrel bridge, and you can see that little white gold inserts have been applied to echo the infinite cosmos, the kind of blue, and this deltoid form designed to echo a leaf that Denis Flageolet found while hiking outside his home in L'Auberson, Switzerland. So if you've ever wondered what this form is about, it is the form of a leaf. Also arcing upward, it symbolizes upward progress and ambition. We have modified Breguet hands in rose gold at center, and then we have little dart style polished hour indices on a toroidal and encompassing fired blue hour track. If you look inboard of it, you can actually see there is a scale for the minutes as well. Now the Tourbillon's up and running, and you can see that this is a patented assembly. It has 63 parts, but it's the world's lightest tourbillon cage, and only 18 hundredths of a gram. That's 0.18 gram. It has white gold. That's the rim of the balance. It has titanium. It has silicon. You can see that the wheel itself is made of silicon, and we have a silicon escape wheel. So the balance is patented. The tourbillon cage itself, the whole assembly, is patented. And then we also have a hairspring curve that Denis has created using a flat hairspring that breathes like an overcoil. So very, very cool. Another thing you'll note is that it's a very fast tourbillon. The beat rate is 10 beats per second, 5 hertz, 36,000 vibrations per hour. But then the tourbillon also makes a circuit or a full turn once every 30 seconds. So it's not exactly the seconds display of the watch. It's a little bit more manic and lively than that. In spite of the power-intensive tourbillon here, we actually have 5 days of power reserve courtesy of twin barrels. They're patented self-adjusting twin barrels, so you can't accidentally overwind them. And there's a power reserve indicator on the case back where you can see we have satination, we have engine turning, we have polishing, and we have anglage. You can see the power reserve scale right here. Turning it back over. See, the depth of the dial is incredible. Case, dial, movement, all made by Bethune, a fully manufactured product. There are many impressive movement manufacturers that don't make the entire watch. They might make the movement, but not the case, not the dial. Bethune makes the whole thing. The finish is extraordinary, although at first glance you might think it's very futuristic. Take a closer look at the edge of these bridges. You can see that they're mirror beveled on their side, that the entirety has been black polished, that underneath the cap of the base plate features Côte de Bethune, or stripes that mirror each other from side to side. Look closely and you can see that there's solarization on the ratchet wheel, but if you look very close past that, you can also see that the teeth of the ratchet wheel have been micro beveled, so it is quite accomplished in its decoration. And of course, an easy watch to wear, super light on the wrist. If you love this timepiece, reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.